Okay, so you ever feel that feeling just drowning in information, articles everywhere, and you're just wishing, like, can someone please just tell me what actually
Oh,
matters?
absolutely. We've all been there.
Yeah. So today, we're going to try and cut through some of that noise. We're doing a deep dive into a concept that sounds simple, maybe, but it's actually way richer, way deeper than you might think. Stewardship.
Right. And it's a word people often kind of narrow down, maybe just to money. But our sources today show it's
Oh, it's huge.
we've looked at theological essays, biblical texts, of course, but also modern stuff on finance, youth ministry, even time management tips. Pretty diverse.
Yeah, real mix. So our mission basically is to unpack what stewardship really means, pull out the key ideas for you. We'll look at its, ancient roots in the Bible and then see how it applies today, like surprisingly relevant applications to your money, your time, your skills, relationships, even the planet. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so stewardship. When we hear that word, I think for a lot of us, yeah, our mind jumps straight to money, right?
Mm-hmm. Usually finances.
Maybe like giving to church, donating to charity, that kind of thing. But that's just scratching the surface, isn't it? The sources suggest it starts somewhere much more foundational.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The real starting point across pretty much all the material is this fundamental principle of ownership. The idea that God owns everything, period.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis puts it so well. He says, every faculty you have, your power of thinking or of moving your limbs from moment to moment is given you by God. If you devoted every moment of your whole life exclusively to his service, you could not give him anything that was not, in a sense, his own already.
Wow. Okay. That's a big thought. Even our ability to think, our physical movements, they aren't really ours. That really shifts things, doesn't
It
it?
totally reframes it. And it's not just, a nice philosophical point. It's baked into the texts.
Like biblically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Psalm 24, verse 1 is crystal clear. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. That verse pops up again and again in the sources. It's like the cornerstone, universal ownership.
Okay, so if God owns it all, what's our job? Where do we fit in?
Well, that clarifies our role completely, doesn't
Yeah.
it? We aren't the owners. We're managers.
Yeah.
Administrators. We're acting on God's behalf.
Okay, so managers, not owners.
Right. And that shift from thinking like an owner to thinking like a manager,
Yeah.
that's huge because suddenly every decision about resources, like how you spend money, how you use your time, it becomes a spiritual decision, an ethical one even.
Okay, right. Let's dig into that a bit more. I know Bill Peel lays out this framework in 4 principles of biblical stewardship. That seems like a good way to structure it. What are those 4 principles he talks about?
Yeah, Peel's framework is really helpful. He breaks it down into 4 connected ideas. First, as we just talked about, is the principle of ownership. God owns it all, we manage it.
Right, but that one?
But it also includes our abilities. Deuteronomy 8.18 says, God gives you the ability to produce wealth. So even your skills, your talents, your knack for business, whatever, that ability itself is from God.
Okay, so ownership first. What's number 2? Responsibility.
Exactly. The principle of responsibility. Peel says, although God gives us all things richly to enjoy, nothing is ours. Nothing really belongs to us. He owns it. We're responsible for how we treat it, what we do with it, according to his desires, not just ours.
So there's a key difference there.
Yeah, he puts it starkly. Owners have rights. Stewards have responsibilities. It implies a real ethical duty in how we handle what's been entrusted to us.
Okay. And responsibility. Oh, that usually implies accountability, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
That's the third principle, the principle of accountability. A steward manages someone else's stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the sources are clear. One day, each one of us will be called to give an account for how we have managed what the master has given us.
Like the parable of the talents.
Precisely. Matthew 25. And it's not just about money in that story, is it? It implies we'll account for our time, our abilities, information, wisdom, relationships, even authority we might have. All of it.
That's quite something to think about. A reckoning for everything. Is there a positive side to this? Like a reward?
Yes, definitely. The fourth principle is the principle of reward. Faithful stewardship comes with a reward. Paul writes about it in Colossians. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving.
So working for that well done, good and faithful servant moment from Matthew 25.
Exactly. That's the ultimate goal. And again, it applies across the board, not just to how you handle your finances.
Okay, this is where I think it gets really fascinating because as you just said, it's clearly not just about money. It goes way beyond the bank account.
Oh, absolutely. The sources really hammer this home. Stewardship touches like every major part of our lives. Let's talk about the stewardship of time.
Okay, time.
Think about time. It's totally unique as a resource, isn't it? Everyone gets the same amount, 24 hours a day, rich, poor, doesn't matter. It gets renewed every day. But here's the kicker. You can't save it up. You can't get it back. Once a minute is gone, it's gone.
Yeah, that's so true. That quote, I think, is Queen Elizabeth I on her deathbed. All my possessions for a moment of time really puts it in perspective.
It really does. And the Bible emphasizes how short and uncertain life is. Psalm 39 calls our days a mere handbreadth. James 4 says life is like a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes.
Wow.
Brief, because it is so brief and uncertain. Ephesians tells us to make the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Think about Paul in prison. He didn't just sit there. He was writing letters, singing hymns, talking to his jailers, using the time he had, even in awful circumstances.
So it's not just about being busy or managing tasks better, but about using each moment wisely. Maybe even, like, ethically.
Exactly. Proverbs says, hard work means prosperity. Only a fool idles away his time. And that connects right back to the parable of the talents, remember? The servant who did nothing with what he was given got seriously rebuked.
Right.
So it's not really time management because we can't manage time itself. It's time stewardship. Using the time God gives us carefully, wisely, in a godly way.
Okay, time stewardship. Got it. What about our skills, our, natural talents or gifts? That falls under stewardship too.
Absolutely. The stewardship of talents and gifts. The sources are clear. All our gifts, whether they're natural abilities or specific spiritual gifts, are entrusted to us by God. James 1:7 says, every good gift comes from him.
So what's the difference between, like, natural and spiritual gifts here?
Well, natural gifts are things you might be born with or develop, being a great musician, a craftsman, maybe a writer. Revelation even mentions craftsmen. Spiritual gifts are those given specifically by the Holy Spirit to believers, like teaching, mercy, leadership, as listed in 1 Corinthians 12.
Okay.
And what's cool is that sometimes a natural talent can be like boosted or consecrated to become a spiritual gift used for God's purposes. Think of the skilled artisans who built the tabernacle in the Old Testament.
And the purpose of having these gifts, is it just for us?
No, definitely not just for personal enjoyment, though that can be part of it. The sources say they're given for the common good, to benefit other people, the church community, for outreach. Ultimately, as 1 Peter puts it, they're given so that God may be glorified. Using them for others is the main point.
That makes a lot of sense. Using what you're good at to help others and honor God. Okay, one more big area, and this one feels really relevant right now. The stewardship of creation, the environment. How does that connect?
Deeply. It goes right back to the beginning. Genesis 2:15. God puts Adam in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Those Hebrew verbs can also mean to serve and to preserve.
So taking care of the earth was like humanity's first job description.
Pretty much. One source says it's in our DNA to use natural resources wisely and preserve the environment for future generations. It honors God because creation itself, as Psalm 19 says, glorifies its creator. There's even a modern angle mentioned that maybe humans, with our technology, have a unique stewardship role to save life from otherwise certain elimination. Kind of a big responsibility if you think about it like that.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's not just about keeping things pristine like a museum, is it? There's also that instruction to be fruitful and multiply in Genesis 1.
Exactly. It's a balance. We're called to preserve, yes, but also to actively engage with creation, to cultivate it, unlock its potential, use its resources for human flourishing, but responsibly. Active use without abuse. That's the key. We're managing it for God, the owner.
Okay, wow. So stewardship covers, well, pretty much everything. Time, talent, treasure, the planet. So what does this actually mean for us day to day? How do we get this stewardship mindset? It feels like more than just following rules.
It absolutely is. It's much deeper than a checklist. The sources emphasize it's really a heart matter. It's about your internal orientation, your motivation, why you do what you do.
Before we define what it is, maybe it helps to know what it isn't. What are some common mistakes or traps people fall into when they think about stewardship?
Yeah, that's helpful. 10 fundamentals pastors need to know. Lists 5 common errors. First, thinking stewardship is only about money. We've seen that's way too narrow.
Right.
Second, teaching about it just to get more donations for the church. That makes it feel transactional, kind of misses the point.
Okay.
Third, forgetting it's about the heart, our attitude, our motives. Fourth, using guilt or pressure to get people to give or act. That's not genuine stewardship. And fifth, the leader not modeling it themselves,
Yeah.
not practicing what you preach.
Right, the personal example is huge. Okay, so if it's not those things, what is this stewardship mindset we're aiming for?
Well, there's a definition proposed for financial professionals, but I think it works much more broadly. It says the mindset acknowledges God as the owner, it seeks the active use of all resources, it faithfully works for the best interest and freedom of others, and it's both shrewd and trustworthy.
Shrewd and trustworthy. Interesting combo.
Yeah, it's not always our natural default way of thinking, is it? It's a whole way of looking at things.
And you mentioned this mindset rests on 5 foundations. Can you unpack those for us?
Sure. First, ownership. We've covered that God owns it all, but he invites us to manage it. So stewards own nothing, but have been given everything to oversee.
Okay.
Second, active use. This is crucial. It's not about being passive or just holding on to things. Remember the lazy servant in the parable of talents. He got rebuked for not using the talent. A steward actively, even joyfully, looks for ways to use the master's resources well. It's an ethical call to action, not just preservation.
Right, not burying your talent literally or figuratively. Okay, active use. What are the other 3?
Third is freedom for others. Bonhoeffer said true freedom is found in relationship. So stewardship isn't self-serving. It's about emptying oneself, like Philippians 2 talks about, for the good of the other person, whether that's your client, your family, society, or ultimately God. It comes from gratitude and love.
Freedom for others. Interesting way to put it.
Fourth is faithfulness. The real motivation isn't just, getting a return on investment in earthly terms. It's about wanting others to be part of God's economy and ultimately hearing that well done from the master. It means having the courage to use what you've been given, holding it loosely, and practicing jubilee, like forgiving debts, trusting God will provide.
Holding things loosely. That's hard. Okay, and the last one, shrewdness. That one still feels a bit surprising next to faithfulness. How do those fit together?
Yeah, it's a fascinating tension. The fifth foundation is shrewdness. Think about the parable of the shrewd manager in Luke 16. It's not praising dishonesty, but it is praising cleverness in dealing with worldly resources.
Okay, how so?
It's about using money and resources as tools, not being mastered by them. It involves understanding how the world works, people's motivations, seeking mutual benefit,
Yeah.
but always while being completely trustworthy. The parable says being trustworthy in handling worldly wealth is how you get entrusted with true riches. So it's like wise, discerning action in the world combined with unwavering integrity.
Okay, that makes more sense. Wisdom and integrity together. So understanding all this is one thing, but how do we actually cultivate this mindset? Especially for listeners who are maybe thinking, okay, I get the idea, but what do I do? Any practical steps?
Definitely. The sources offer some concrete ways to foster this. First, develop your technical skills. See your abilities, your education, your craft as God-given gifts, honing them, becoming competent, working hard in your studies or profession. That is stewardship.
So being good at your job is part of it.
Absolutely. Second, practice detachment. C.S. Lewis wrote about how things can get welded to our hearts, that sense of mind. We break those welds by intentionally giving things away, money, possessions, time, maybe even setting a specific lifetime giving goal to make it concrete.
Ooh, a lifetime giving goal. That's a challenging thought. What else?
Third, engage with poverty. Don't just read about it. Get involved. Volunteer at a food bank. Learn about microfinance, something hands-on. Then reflect on it. Seeing the needs and the dignity of others firsthand can be, as one source said, life-altering. It makes our connection to others real, not abstract.
Makes sense. Get out of your bubble.
Exactly. And finally, experiential learning. Things like student-managed investment funds, where students handle real money with ethical guidelines, maybe focusing on biblically responsible investing or shareholder advocacy. These kinds of things force you to grapple with risk, responsibility, and values in a really tangible way. It's not just theory anymore.
What a journey we've taken today. It really hammers home that stewardship is. Well, it's about owning nothing, technically, but being responsible for managing everything God has put in our care. It's a huge perspective shift.
It really is. And it's not about just following rules or checking boxes. True stewardship, the kind the sources describe, is this holistic, often counterintuitive way of living. It's about letting our hearts be reshaped so we act out of gratitude, out of joy, out of love, not just obligation. It's about building habits that lead to real spiritual growth, a fundamentally different way of seeing our lives and the world.
So that leaves us with a final thought for you, our listener, to take away and maybe chew on this week. If everything truly belongs to God and you are simply his manager, his steward, What's one specific thing in your life right now, maybe a block of your time, a skill you have, something you own, or even a part of your local environment that you could start managing intentionally with this renewed sense of responsibility, seeing it not just as yours, but as a sacred trust from the ultimate owner?
Yeah, we really encourage you to think about that. Explore how these ideas might actually change some of your everyday decisions and actions.